And the other reason why I don't think anything's gonna happen is because there's no punishment. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna fine these restaurants, or are you gonna throw somebody in jail? What's up, guys? This is Alan again, back with another video. And today we're gonna look at this thing that's on the news that's gonna most likely be affecting the restaurant and bar industry that I want to talk about. Basically, there's a new law that's gonna, it passed in October 2023, just to clarify. It's going to be active on July of 2024, and a lot of bartenders and servers are wondering what's going to happen because this law specifically bans junk fees, and there's a debate on whether a service charge that is included in some restaurants, especially after the lockdown, to secure the wages of the servers and bartenders, that if that would be considered a junk fee, because if it is, this is going to change a lot of things. So let's clarify what a service fee is. A service fee is not necessarily gratuity. For example, if you see a 20% service fee, 15% of that might go into gratuity, and then 5% might be for operational costs. So let's take a look at some of the articles, and every article that I'm about to look at is going to be put on the description below. Okay, so let's take a look at this first article. Okay, this is on SF Eater. So how California's junk fee ban will impact restaurants. So let's take a look at this. Oh, before we start, I have to remind people that I'm not a lawyer, so I might not get this thing 100%. I'm just basically explaining my interpretation and my understanding on what the law is and how this is going to possibly affect the tipping system in California and possibly the United States. Okay, so let's take a look at this. On July 1st, 2024, California's sweeping junk fee ban goes into effect and will likely reshape the state's restaurant and bar scene in major ways. So Senate Bill 478 aims to crack down on so-called junk fees, the surcharges most often associated with hotel, car rental, and ticket sale companies, which have become the target of the Biden-Harris administration and California Attorney General Rob Bonta. So this law, in case you don't know, this is meant for things like Ticketmaster. When you buy a ticket and there's like processing fee, this fee, credit card fee, and everyone, they're like, how the heck did this $50 ticket become $75? Like, where do these fees come from? And they don't really show up until at the end when you're ready to do the checkout. And it's also like, what are you paying for? Why is there an additional processing fee? I'm clearly ordering online, so why is there an extra fee? So that's what the purpose of the law is supposed to do. But regarding restaurants, some restaurants during the lockdown, to get employees back, especially front of the house, a lot of the gratuity or service charge is included on the bill. So let's move on, and I'll give you my opinion on what I think about this. Okay. But the California legislation doesn't just do away with resort fees and service charges from ticket sellers. On May 8, the California Attorney General Office released a much anticipated frequently asked questions list about the law, which addressed specifically how it will impact restaurants, bars, and other food businesses that charge mandatory service fees. At restaurants and bars, these fees often supplement or replace voluntary gratuities and can serve to address long-standing inequalities that result from the tipping system in America. In some cities, including San Francisco, fees are commonly used to offset the cost of a city mandate to set aside funds for employee health care. So this city mandate is San Francisco Healthy, which is this thing right here. There's like a additional 8% or a percent that you might see on the bottom says SF Healthy if you ever dined in San Francisco, and you might wonder what that is. This is basically it. It's a health care surcharge right here. Some San Francisco businesses have elected to impose a surcharge, an extra fee or cost, on the goods and services they sell to customers to cover, in whole or in part, the expense of complying with the health care security ordinance. Under a new law, however, restaurants and bars will not be able to add these charges to customers' bills. As a result, many business owners say they'll have to raise prices. Others who have been using mandatory service fees in place of tips now say they may need to revert to a tipping system, despite that tipping can encourage racism, sexism, harassment, and exploitation. So yeah, you've probably seen these, especially if you work in the industry, you probably have seen this. Sometimes waitresses will get 0% tip because they didn't give away their number to the customer. So let's take a look at the statistics. So that's a form of harassment that I just mentioned, which is very, very common. Like, you'll see them everywhere online. So let's just take a look at this chart on how the ethnicity of the server actually affects how much they get tipped. So if you're a white server, for every hour you make an additional $7. For Latin employees, okay, this is 706, this is 608, they make an additional 608. If you're black, you'll make an extra $5.57 an hour in tips, and if you're Asian, $4.77. I find this very interesting. I don't know why this would Asian. I didn't really think that there was that much racism against an Asian server. Maybe it could be just because of stereotypes that they're like. So, what I learned in ethnic studies in college is that even positive stereotypes like Asians being good at school can negatively impact them, because if you see somebody like an Asian person working in a restaurant or working as a physical labor, their value in society is deemed less because they're not up to the standards of these stereotypes. So maybe that's why Asian servers get paid less in tips. So this is the most recent article that I've seen. And this is somewhat of good news. California restaurants may take the state's junk fee ban to court. Okay. There may still be hope for California restaurant and bar owners looking for a workaround to Senate Bill 478, the state's junk fee ban, which goes into effect July 1st. So that's less than 2 months. According to the Chronicle, the California Restaurant Association is now arguing that legislation which bans advertising, displaying, or offering a price for a good or service that does not include all mandatory fees and charges does not apply to restaurants, since restaurant menu items are neither goods nor services. It's not like buying a ticket to a movie. When you go to a restaurant, you're getting a customized experience. For example, you order your steak, the temperature that you want. If you're allergic to gluten, you have a different ingredient that replaces the items that have gluten. So it's not, you're getting a different experience than somebody else next to you. This is what they're arguing. It's not like you're buying shoes where the shoes always come out the same. You're not buying custom shoes. If you're getting a size 10, it's the same as a size 10 for everyone else for that shoe. And the tickets, you do have to choose. I mean, you are already paying for more for better seats, but you're not getting a different experience if someone else was sitting in that seat. It's a legal technicality for sure, but it could be enough to land a new law in court. The Chronicle reports that Brian Hildreth, a lawyer for the Restaurant Association, sent a letter to Attorney General Rob Bonta earlier this week demanding Bonta remove restaurants from the list of businesses impacted by the legal change. Bonta unsurprisingly disagrees. Yeah, you can tell he's never worked in a restaurant, which could set the stage for a stage battle over how the law will apply to restaurants, if at all. Exactly. Like, a restaurant is an experience. It's a customized experience. You sitting at the bar, you sitting at the dining room. A restaurant that takes care of a table of 2 is not the same approach than if they have to take care of a table of 8 people. As the Chronicle notes, documents from shaping of SB 478 and its progress through the state legislature indicate that lawmakers didn't discuss if and how the law would apply to restaurant service fees and surcharges. Like I said before, they have so much time and they still haven't even figured out. They're sure that they want to include restaurants in this list. of junk fees, but they don't even know how the restaurants work. In San Francisco, most restaurants and bar owners implement a 5 to 7% surcharge to cover the cost of the city mandate requiring employees to pay into a fund to provide healthcare for all workers. Without the ability to use mandatory fees to offset these operational costs, restaurants and bar owners around the Bay Area say they'll likely have to raise prices come July 1st. So yeah, even if San Francisco citizens know that about these laws, imagine the impact this is going to have on tourism when people come from a state that has a voluntary space to put gratuity in, going to a place that they see a $25 burger, not knowing that includes the tips already in it, they're probably going to go somewhere else. San Francisco, before this, was already very expensive. This is going to increase the menu items even further. So I have a few theories on what might happen. One is nothing is going to change. I've read a few articles on this, and it seems pretty messy, and a lot of people don't even seem to know about this. I only know about this because I like to read a lot of news regarding the service industry, but I have friends outside of San Francisco that have never even heard of this. And most customers probably will not even know about this, and they're just going to continue on their own way. And the other reason why I don't think anything's going to happen is because there's no punishment. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to fine these restaurants, or are you going to throw somebody in jail? The second thing that might happen is the menu prices are just going to go up by 20%. So mathematically, that is the same. This is why I think it might disrupt the whole tipping system in the United States. The United States is probably the only place in the whole world that has where tipping is expected. You go to Europe, for example, in France, you go to a Michelin star restaurant, the price you see includes the tax and the gratuity. So when you see a burger that's $50 and you buy that burger, when you get the tab, it's $50. It's exactly what it says in the menu. That $50 includes everything. So what I think this is gonna do is that it might get rid of the tipping system, because as we saw earlier, depending on your ethnic background or your gender, you could be tipped differently just by that. So it's not fair for certain minorities. So by having everything already included, it'll equal the playing field. Now, the reason why I think this is going to disrupt the system if we go to the second route is because, the tipping system is invented in the US. It's been there for several generations. I think most people today have never lived at a time that did not have the tipping system. And this system kind of carried over into modern times, and we just never got rid of it. So I think that by getting rid of the tipping system, in a way, it'll help us catch up to the rest of the world. So let's take a look at this article. Menu prices at California restaurants and bars about to go up. So this has already happened. A place that I used to work at, they sent an email to a lot of the diners that the menu prices are going to be increased by 20%. So for a fact, the second option I mentioned earlier has already gone into effect. So this is the article, or the FAQs that we mentioned earlier. It happened on May 8th. It got delayed once for no reason, which adds to the confusion. That means, like, why does it take so long? We had from October 2023 to come up with this law that we passed, and you don't even know, you can't even explain to the public what's going to happen within less than 2 months of it being effective. So this is kind of messed up. I don't even know what's going to happen. Earlier this month, restaurant and bar owners in the Bay Area expressed concern that a ban on service fees would likely cause businesses to raise prices en masse. It has already begun. So this is not even a concern. This is almost going to happen. Industry experts additionally worry that those higher prices may result in more customers choosing not to dine out. Yep. They might just choose takeout, because a lot of takeouts, the only person you really tip is the delivery driver. So if you have a restaurant burger, which was $15 in the past, but if you include the 20%, that will be $18. They'll see an $18 burger and they're like, that's expensive, even though mathematically that's 20% tip already included. Just the shock value. So I think this is a real danger, especially during COVID. A lot of people, The restaurant industry still hasn't recovered, especially in the Bay Area. And having an additional hurdle like this is going to make things worse, especially for smaller mom and pop places. People might choose to go to a chain restaurant like McDonald's or something, which doesn't have tips and most likely wouldn't increase the prices since they don't have gratuity anyway. So this is going to put things into danger, is that people are going to resort to doing deliveries and not choosing to dine in. Which actually brings up another point. If you're ordering takeout, is the price still have the mandatory 20% service fee included? Since you're not, requiring any servers or bussers or plates to be washed. This is more confusion here. There's one minor reprieve in the recently released information. The FAQs state that the AG's office will not initially focus on restaurant fees that go directly to the staff, such as those aforementioned automatic gratuities. Like I said, this is the primary purpose of this bill is to get rid of junk fees. Like, for example, going on Fandango and getting a movie ticket only to get charged an extra $5 for using their service. And the second thing is, I said that how are they going to enforce this? There's no punishment, so people might continue doing it their own way. There are many factors that we consider when making enforcement decisions, the FAQ reads. It goes to point out, however, that even if early enforcement does not target automatic gratuities, restaurants that use them after July 1st could be subject to private liability, namely lawsuits from diners. Okay, so maybe that's it. There's no government enforcement of this, but it looks like this law will open up a lot of problems with civil lawsuits. That is, diners suing the restaurants for adding these service charges. The Golden Gate Restaurant Association, SF's restaurant lobby, says that the law will create significant challenges for the restaurant industry moving forward. Yep, because we're trying to catch up, and that still hasn't happened since the lockdown. A lot of people that I know left the restaurant industry completely because they just couldn't make enough money. And without people serving food, people stopped going to restaurants, which is insane because that means a lot of people are going to have to learn how to cook. While a negative impact on the survival of this still struggling industry, not only will restaurants struggle, but workers will lose hours and jobs. Yep, everyone's going to lose from this. People are not going to try out new restaurants. The people working in the restaurants are not going to make money. And restaurant owners will probably suffer because revenue drops. So yeah, I think that this is going to change the way that tipping is going to happen in the rest of the US. So you're probably seeing these internet posts where people get tipped $0 and they'll say like, sorry, I wish I could tip, but I'm poor. Or sometimes you have a guy trying to get a number from the waitress and she turns them down and they'll tip them $0 as a punishment for not giving the number. It's like, hey, I was nice to you and you're not going to give me a number, and $0, like things like that. So yeah, they depend on their tips to make a living. And not only that, the tips also open up for discrimination and harassment, as we saw earlier. So I think the two things that are most likely going to happen, either nothing happens because there's no clear punishment, and a lot of customers, yeah, they might sue, but that's only if they know about the law. And the second thing is prices are just going to go up and we're just going to be like the rest of the world. Tax and tips already included in the price, which is fine by me, but I'm just worried about the diners not understanding that this is how the rest of the world works already. And the tipping system is inherently American, so by taking it away, it might cause a lot of issues because it might be like taking their freedom away. That was the articles that this is what's going on in the industry. Not sure if you guys are bartenders or servers or working in the restaurant industry, but let me know what you guys think about this law. What do you think is going to happen? Are things going to stay the same? Or are we going to move forward with all the fees already included and we do it the same way they do it in Europe and Asia? So yeah, leave it in the comments below. And I hope you found this video educational or entertaining. And if so, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.